G'day everyone, Jason Nunn, Fisherman's Warehouse, Tuckerwell, Marks Point. With this Friday's fishing report, I'm up at Swansea Heads. Looking behind me here, the ocean is perfect. We've seen quite a few pods of whales actually moving up to the north of Moon Island here at the present moment, a few jumping out of the water. And that'll be continuation all weekend. You'll see these whales moving up, but have a look at conditions. That's not going to get any better than this. There's no excuses. If the wife's got the big job list on the board, scrap it. This is the weekend for fishing. This is the one we've been waiting for. Westerly winds, west-northwest all weekend. Tomorrow, 15 knots maybe in the morning, dropping off to 10. And Sunday, a very, very special day before a little bit of a southerly coming back through on Monday. There's been a lot of talk and there's been a lot of reports of what's going on. There's been a few yellowfin out wide, down off Sydney. Basically, east of Broken Bay tends to be where they are, and around about 1,500 fathoms. Had a look at the sea surface chart before we did the report here this morning, and look, there's a bit of a pool of water out off Swansea and around about 1,000 fathoms, maybe 550 to 1,000 fathoms, where the current backs off about 0.6 of a knot. Probably worth a bit of a look at, and I think over the next few weeks we're going to see some of this improvement happening out wide, but definitely been getting quite a few inquiries of yellowfin. It doesn't take much to catch one, and the reports start to get out, and Sydney was where it happened over the last few days. So let's hope we get a few up this way. That deeper water, the farm, down towards the Texas again this weekend, and particularly Sunday. Tomorrow afternoon, I reckon, perfect. Got some great tides. 6 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, high tide, around about 1.75, close enough to midday for low tide. Look, there'll be kings down on the Texas. Again, you'll need to work through some of those barracuda schools, move around, have a bit of a drift out a bit wider, longfin perch of course, snapper, but the kings will really be a perfect time to get down there and have a look. Out on the front farm, been some reports of snapper up here as well. The tides tomorrow afternoon, however, this little bit of coastal inshore reef, right the way from down near Bird Island, all the way through up through Newcastle, that 20 to 30 metre line is where you want to be. Again, floating baits, that burley trail, half pillies, fish one to the bottom, put a couple of floaters out, strip squid. There's been some beautiful snapper getting caught on these inshore reefs this week. Bag limit catches again of tailor and trag all along these coastal reefs. The water, as you can see, got some really nice colour back into it now. So I think it's a great opportunity to get out. And I reckon the early morning, of course, or that latter part of the afternoon when you can hold the bite longer. But there's no excuses. You've got to get offshore this weekend. You know, typical of what our winter's been. Who knows, next week we might be talking about it from the shop when pouring rain and blowing a gale. So make the most of this week and get out. The beaches, they've really sorted themselves out. There's plenty of gutters and holes along most of our beaches. A few salmon on the beach, there's a few tailor. Just had a couple of reports today of a couple of big tailor got caught off Belmont Beach yesterday. One of them up around about that 3.5 kilo mark. So some big fish there. Of course, there's a few flathead and brim. It's a bit of surface activity in that bite area there too. There's a lot of fish busting up on the surface beyond the golf course, all the way down towards the breakwater, but they're beyond the break. Now, if they're tailor, if you're into tailor and you want to have a bit of a troll on the back of the surf line, tomorrow morning's probably a bit of a pick. It will be protected from that nor'wester, and maybe there's a few good tailor. There's a lot of surface activity and a lot of reports today of fish out around about 100, maybe 150 metres off the beach, busting up on the surface. There was a little bit of bird life out here when we drove in off Moon Island, just to the northeast of Moon Island. There's quite a few boats out here at the moment. There's a few at the back of the island squidding, but on that northeast corner, there's a few having a bit of a go at a few of those tailor that are getting caught in the wash, and a few salmon. Now, these inshore reefs will be perfect if you want to throw off your soft plastics. The southern bommy here, all these bommy areas down towards ghosties, of course. If you're into soft plastics, with this swell being quite minimal, under a metre, a great opportunity to get in and throw some plastics in around some of these kelp beds and some of these washes. The lake this week has been on fire with tailor. Had a bit of a look there yesterday afternoon. Sort of got pushed on time, only had around about 45 minutes. Got 5 beautiful fish. Best one was probably about 52. Not as good as I got a couple of weeks ago, but there were some solid fish amongst them. But I've been getting some cracking reports all week, spread throughout the lake. There's no particular spot. The trench has been fishing well between there and Coal Point. The triangle, which we talk about a lot, Fishing Point to Coal Point over to Wanji Point, that triangle, that middle section producing a lot of good fish. There's an abundance of flathead out there on the bottom under these bait schools, 45s to 55s, and some better fish around. Now Wayne Flanagan sent me a couple of photos. He's been getting some really nice fish in these bait schools and lost quite a few vibes this week. He's been using a few of those Xeric vibes that he's had one over the previous months and got smoked up, and I reckon that would have been a couple of these mulloway that are hanging in on these bait schools feeding on the tailor, but there's a real mixture of fish. Been still a few reds and some very, very good brim getting caught. I raced over across the flats there yesterday and there was a lot of fish moving in on that back part of Mark's Point there, a lot of brim moving through that shallow water. So I reckon this high tide, and particularly with no moon, if you're in for a bit of night fishing, the southern end of the lake, get down there in that Chain Valley Bay area of a day or of an evening. The water's going to be always a little bit more tempered down there with the power stations, and as is Myuna Bay. Look, water temp in the middle of the lake around about 13.9, maybe 14 degrees, but it's in and around about 16 down Myuna. I know Dave Hutton had a bit of a crack there this week, got a couple of good tailor, lost another rod overboard, so he's having a big time of it. He got busted off on a couple of those trolling lures. He's been using a few of the Redix and been getting down and around about that 4 metres, and as I say, he got quite a few busts off. So I reckon there's a few kings even mixed in with these tailor schools. So plenty on offer this weekend, guys. I just think we've got to get out there and have a go, but I don't think it's going to get any better than what we see behind us, this backdrop. You can see all the ships pointing directly into the west. Let's get out there, get some photos into me for our fishing page, and let's get some results. I'll see you next Friday.